Everybody, welcome back. Here we are. Born to be kings. We're the princes of the universe. You know what? I've decided, I was talking it out with chat yesterday. We got a very, low backlog time right now. There's very little free video flow. Videos in the hopper going out, the second they hit it, right? So we're agile. I was like, hey, chat, what if we just started doing random runs? And then literally all of chat erupted into applause. Somebody handed me a crisp $100 bill. You get the idea. CS4N NXFH. Everybody seemed to be of the opinion that, yeah, do some, random runs instead of doing Eden runs. It's not like the whatever problems you have with Isaac, you know, it's not like they're fixed. It's not like the item pool becomes more sensible, and less bloated. And I don't, not everybody agrees with me, by the way. I'm not trying to, I'm not a crusading YouTuber who's trying to convince you to agree with me at all times. I just want to make you laugh, for the most part. Make you cry, make you feel something, you know? In this grayscale world, I want you to see some vibrant hues. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but it kind of sounded a little poetic to me at the start. Anyway, regardless, it doesn't solve those problems, but it very much mitigates the amount that they're actually going to affect you, because of the fact that you're probably, I mean, you could always random Eden, but, you know, for the most part, you're insulated from those truly awful starts. And if you were to make, a recipe for a very, not good Isaac run that is extremely irritating to me because I'm psychologically weak-willed, it would be, terrible starting stances Eden, and then just not very good items for the rest of the game. If you could at least have a balanced start point for your statistics, then you've taken out one element of that perfect storm. So, you know what? Starting today, December the 28th, 2020, I told you we had a small backlog. Starting today, we're gonna maybe pivot to some random runs again. And this always happens. Then I random the keeper 2 times in a row, and then I'm like, let's do Eden runs, because then you never get screwed by your character. And then I do Eden runs until I get a 19 rate of fire, 2.5 damage run, and I go, let's do, random runs. And then I, get Lilith too many times, and then I go, let's play as Isaac exclusively. And then the audience goes, boring. And it's a constant, back and forth. Let's put it that way. But we're working on it. How am I doing? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Today is Monday. Thank you for thinking of asking, at least. Today's Monday, December the 28th. If we have to use 2 bombs for this, I've decided I'm okay with it. Could have pushed the chest a little closer, but it would have taken a long time. Come on, I'm not made of time. Moby told us we're all made of stars, but we're not all made of time. Don't be ridiculous. Okay, very good bomb. Bob's curse is, not good at all, but you would think for such a trinket of such mild benefit, that it might actually have, a larger spread. But, hey, dude, I'm not anti, little Steven here. Let me, I'm closing, things that I've had open for too long here. For example, I don't think that I need to have chess.com, 2 Twitter tabs, my YouTube analytics stats, and Photoshop open. I will admit, I'm one of those, I'm one of those guys. I don't keep a lot of tabs open. Rob keeps 50 tabs open at every given moment in Google Chrome. I'm not one of those guys, but I can understand where those guys come from, or where their psychological compilation. That's not what the word is. The reason they feel compelled to do that. They say things like a cluttered desk is a cluttered mind. To which I reply, what does that say about an empty desk? Hi-yo! Beating at your own game, Master Wordsmith. But yeah, I actually wanted, today, one of my New Year's resolutions that I just literally made up 2 seconds ago, I want every video to have a purpose. I want every video to have almost like a thesis that we're working towards. Not like, I'm gonna convince you why, red licorice is the best licorice, you know? But just some kind of, like, what's the point? What's the point of the video? And the point is entertainment, but perhaps there can also be some information. For example, in this video, I want to teach you about one of the most underrated, underutilized features of Windows. First off, I'm losing my mind, by the way. I don't know, like, if this happened recently or if this happened a long time ago and I'm only just now discovering it. There are 3 keyboard shortcuts I use on the regular. I use Alt F4. I don't really use Alt F4 that often. I guess there's 4 keyboard shortcuts. I don't use Alt F4 that often, but, you know, I've used it in the past. But I never inhaled. It's an interesting choice. I want to see what this is first. And you know what? I think you sold me. It sucks to get rid of the box of friends. It's very useful as Lilith, but I think we're gonna get there anyway. So yeah, I've been known to on occasion use Alt F4. Obviously, Control Alt Delete's very important. You can use Control Shift Escape as well if you just want to open the task manager. Let's not count that though. Let's count those as one and the same. I use Alt Tab, obviously, like an insanely important, for convenience at least, keyboard shortcut. And then I've long been a fan of Windows key plus D, which minimizes all windows and then takes you to the desktop. Only, I don't know if it's like other things take precedent over it now, but when you hit Windows key D, it depends what the active window is. If you're in the, like, file, like Windows Explorer, the file browser, if you will, it will try to highlight, I think, the first folder that starts with D. That's not what I want. Like, I could I mean, if you had built Windows key D to do that since the year 2000, then I might feel slightly differently about it, you know, because the muscle memory would be baked in. But instead, I'm just mashing Windows key D, like, trying to figure out what it does. And then, like, Windows key D, if you have Discord open, I don't know, it must be that, like, you know, whatever framework those are built on, like, has, like, an overhanging keyboard shortcut on the Windows key for whatever reason. It's very, let's not call it very frustrating, like, that's a little tone deaf in 2020, but just annoying, because I used to use Windows key D, I would say, like, at least 3 or 4 times a day. You got 17 windows open, you just want to, you know, get back to cleanliness, which is next to godliness, you just hit Windows key D and you're there. But anyway, the point of this video was not to complain about that. We definitely do not care for that. Like the HP, yeah, why not? Why not, I say. Let me just caffeinate here. My personal tip, here's my Windows tip of the year. I'll become one of those Windows guys who has like a SEO infused blog that is like, when you Google, like, you know, run DLL in your task manager, it'll pop up and be like, do you want a course, 25 secrets of the Windows wizards? And you're like, I just need to, I'm just trying to make sure I don't got any malware, man. Anyway. Here's my most underrated tool in Windows, if you're still using Windows. You open your Start menu, and you type in SNIP. You'll see access to something called the snipping tool. Snip, snip. What is this valuable for? If you have ever used print screen, and I have used print screen, like, you know, for a long time, if you've ever used print screen, the snipping tool is like print screen times infinity. It's basically like there used to be, there probably still is, but there used to be too, a program called Gyazo, Gyazo, and it was basically like you could click and drag a little area of your screen, and it would just take a capture of it. And that saves you from having to do, like, print screen, then you bring it into a picture editor, and then you crop out, like, the 3 monitors worth of stuff you didn't want to take a photo of. You just got a little capture of the little part that you did. And you could also, you could do screen recording with that, which was interesting. So you could, like, like, if you wanted to record yourself, I think, like, an instructive example would be, like, maybe you're programming or something like that, and you're writing a tutorial, you wanted to make a GIF of, like, you know, how the program looks when you step through it, or how your debug process looks when you step through it, etc., etc. So it's kind of interesting like that. By the way, we will just get the 52 bombs, which should be enough, and then take the Emperor card with us from this point onward. I think that this should be a pretty good way for us to court success here. But yeah, the snipping tool is basically exactly that, but much faster and built into Windows, so you don't have to download another piece of software for it. Which I think is better, to put it frankly. I use the snipping tool all the time, because, like, there's nothing... Well, I would disagree. I would say there's something wrong with print screen. If you want to capture your entire view, like multiple monitors, or if you're on one monitor, print screen is, like, not as bad. You want to capture your whole monitor? Sure, use print screen. See if I care. But if you want to capture just a little snippet of something, then... the snipping tool is the way to go. You just, you snip whatever you want to snip, however big, however small. You, right-click on it, copy image, and then paste it, or just save it as something, like I just paste it into Twitter, or I paste it into Photoshop when I need, like, little screenshots or something like that. There must be another enemy alive? Nope. When I'm making thumbnails or something like that, which probably explains why my thumbnails are kind of doo-doo to begin with, but... let's not worry about that too much. Yeah, highly recommended. If you've never used the Windows snipping tool, I encourage you to do so. There you go. Don't say I never taught you nothing. I do recommend it. I do. Thought I had something else to say. I don't know if it was about the snipping tool. You're like, yeah, please. You got me going. Tell me more about the snipping tool. Hey, it's a good... tool, okay? It's a good piece of technology I thought you might want for quality of life. You don't want to be the guy that's still capturing, like, print screens. Oh, you know what I was gonna say? So, like, again, probably nobody cares, but sometimes for, like, sponsored deals and stuff, people want you to send, like, analytics of how the campaign did. So they'll be like, hey, send me, or like, hey, we're looking at streamers to sponsor for, like, this thing. Can you send, like, 6 months of your analytics and your demographic data, what percentage of your audience lives in, you know, the United States, etc., etc. And, like, it used to be a bit of a chore. You'd either, like, download, like, an XLS file, like a spreadsheet, and then send it over. It was all, like, just comma-separated values that you need, like, a PhD to understand. That's probably a little bit extreme, but you get the idea. Now, I just, like, I load up the report on the analytics side, just a quick little, quick little snip, drop it into Photoshop, and, remove all the sensitive, like, identifying information, maybe change a couple of 1s to, 9s, if you know what I mean. What the heck, 90,000 average concurrent viewers? How have I never heard of this guy before? All of a sudden, before you know it, this video was brought to you by lynda.com. Alright. I think that out of all these, I like this the most. Normally, please be the easy robe. It's easy robe. Normally, I probably, like, because our damage is pretty trash, I might not do this, but because we have golden bombs, seems like a decent use for me. Anyway, there's my tip for the day. Now the thing is, I don't learn like 365 useful tips annually, so I'm pretty sure that like that's gonna be the only one for like the next calendar year. I don't have any other tips. I mean, the other thing is, if I did, I wouldn't be able to stop myself from just saying them like right now. You know what I mean? Like I gotta like you shouldn't structure your entire life about like being productive. Like, I hate when people are like, you know, I don't even hug my kids because I find that, you know, if I just give them a handshake, it takes 2.3 seconds less, but they get the same amount of self-reported intimacy out of it. You know, like, I think that stuff is, like, idiotic and kind of misses the point of life, at least, you know, for me. But there are some situations where I'm like, you know, I think maximizing your productivity when it comes to, like, restructuring unnecessary wastes of time in your life can be very positive, and only you can decide whether it's unnecessary, for the record. But I will always advocate for the productive, multiplicative effect of making cold brew coffee instead of making hot coffee every morning. You make cold brew concentrate. It takes 10 minutes. You need a cold brew kit, which is really just, you know, 2 jars, more or less. And you need ground coffee. You need cold water. That's it. Oh, you probably need a filter. You can just, like, for $50, you can buy a cold brew kit on Amazon, okay? What do? It's so simple. Like, you just grind up some coffee. You put it in the top level of the basin. You pour cold water on it. You let it linger, i.e. brew, almost like a coffee sous vide for 12 to 24 hours. You strain it so there's no coffee grinds. And then you got cold coffee for, like, you know, however, it depends on your level of consumption, but you can repeat the process as necessary. Now, admittedly, I will admit, if you just have like a French press sort of setup, you know, you're not saving too much time with the cold brew. The main thing you're saving is the fact that you don't have to wait for it to cool down. But in terms of, like, it is... To make a cup of coffee in the morning when you got a cold brew concentrate takes literally, like, less than 10 seconds. You just pour some of the concentrate into your cup, and then you fill up the rest with water, again, to your desired level of strength, and you're good to go. Now, with a French press, like, if you got pre-ground coffee, like, and maybe you got one of those, like, automatic water heaters that just keeps water at, like, a near boiling or over boiling temperature so that you can just dispense it at will. You know, even if you got a kettle, it doesn't take too long. But I'm just saying, I prefer the taste of cold coffee, and to have cold coffee available in the morning right away. It kickstarts my day. Now, I'm not saying, like, oh, now he's trying to take away the simple pleasure of a hot cup of coffee. If you like hot coffee, like, by all means, but if you're kind of, you know, on the fence, or maybe even if you prefer cold coffee, consider getting on the cold brew kick. Like, in terms of quality of life, like, the $50 you spend on the cold brew kit, you could probably do it cheaper, for the record. I'm sure if you Google it, there's any number of blogs out there that are like, I'm not paying $50 for 2 pieces of plastic. Instead, I just spent 12 hours of my time 3D printing one. I ran out of filament halfway through. It cost me $400 to refill it, but it's the principle of the thing, you know. So I'm sure you can find examples like that if there's a principle aspect there. But I'm just saying, that's one thing where I'm like, you know, I've gotten a lot of value out of the cold brew, man. I'm telling you, just literally just walked right into that one. So we're hoping to get an amazing card. Emperor is great, by the way, but we could do better for our own purposes. And we're hoping for... That's not a good one. Maybe just some spirit hearts as well. So those are my 2 productivity tips. The Windows snipping tool. And then also cold brew coffee. Again, like, it's... You know, I'm not necessarily a productivity guy. I will say... I kind of, like, I'm not, like, a work smart, not hard guy. I've said this before. You know, I think that it's probably, you know, if you choose one or the other, I don't know which one's better, working smart or working hard. I think there's some nobility in working hard. Obviously, the dream would be maybe to find a job where you feel like you derive some value from doing both, I guess is what I would say. But we'll just get out of here for now. I guess we could have doubled one more time, but this also, you know, we should probably try to get to this boss trap room, see what's going on in there. But, you know, with the baby, I actually have to work smarter, not harder. And like I was talking to, look, okay, we're friends, but also he's my manager slash publicist slash, you know, jack of all trades, master of all. And his name's David Miyazaki, as he's known in the community. A streamer in his own right, also a very nice guy. But you know, he has 2 kids, and I was explaining to him, like, oh, I'm getting on this new stream schedule, because, you know, obviously I gotta, like, make better use of my time, and I'm getting used to the fact that, I thought, I mean, here's, because, you know, I'm not trying to put any sauce on it, but this is what I said to him. I was like, having the baby, was not as much immediately of a time sink as I thought it would be. Like, it didn't wipe me out from a productivity standpoint in that month surrounding the birth. You know, there were a couple weeks where I was working 0, which is like completely advisable. But then after that, you know, and it's funny because I hesitate to even say it because people were like, you really should have taken more time. But like, once you get like in a routine, and it might take you a little longer to settle in, but once you get into a routine, there's really, I don't want to say there's no reason not to, you know, work, because there is. You could always just, you know, spend more time staring into your child's eyes, whether they're asleep or awake, you know? But you know, there's a lot of downtime. Like, you think that it's going to be a constant glut of stuff to do, and it kind of is, in the sense that, like, you're never, ever going to get caught up with everything you need to do. You're always going to be running a little bit of a chore deficit. But, like, there's also a lot of times where, like, yeah, for 6 hours, she's going to want to eat every 45 minutes. And then, you know, for the next 4 hours, she's just going to nap. So, like, you might as well get some work done, you know? However, the flip side of that is that I kind of assumed, like, I guess I didn't assume that I would get back to, like, the amount that I was working before the baby. I didn't assume that I would get back to 100%, but I thought maybe, like, you know, 85%. Not by this point, but at some point, you know, in the next year or so. And I realized that that's actually, like, super naive. That is... let's put it this way. The easy way to describe it is I think I overestimated the amount of, like, active work that a newborn is for the first few months. And it is a lot of work, don't get me wrong. It's just not as, like, it doesn't have the totality that I assumed that it would. But I vastly underestimated the amount of work that having a child is. Like, not just in the newborn, but, like, the length of time that you would be you know, you'd have other priorities, if that makes sense, or your priorities would at least shift a little bit. And then he contextualized it very nicely for me. He said, you know, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but what you were living before was abnormal. What you are living now, where you have, like, a lot of things that are a drain on your time, not in a negative way, but you know, you've got a lot of responsibilities to family, like old and young, and then you've got, you know, your job that you want to do, and you also have a young kid, and you got an obligation to your relationship, and you got domestic stuff in the house that you got to do, you got chores, you got, you know, et cetera, et cetera. That's real life. And I was like, oh, man, he got me. Anyway, so that, like, I'm not a productivity guy, but by necessity, I am having to become a little bit more of a work smart sort of guy, which is why I think that cold brew is so valuable. That Merriam-Webster defines productivity as, oh man, I was talking about it on stream. I was talked over while I was talking about it, because, like, look, I'm not, like, anti the NLSS, you know, it's my baby. But sometimes I really, and I'll admit that this is part of the humor of the show as well, is that I get bullied, so to speak, but, like, literally. But, like, I have these incredible, like, beautiful, like, immaculately crafted jokes, the likes of which, honestly, are, I think maybe people talk over them because they're jealous. I understand. When in my weaker days, I might have felt the same. But this joke kind of got talked over on the NLSS, so I want to repurpose it as an Isaac bit. I was struck, I had a feeling that I had not had in so long, and I remembered it so viscerally that it kind of, like, it surprised me. And the feeling was this: you ever, like, be in English class, or, you know, any class where somebody's got to do public speaking, and you kind of figure out within the first, like, 20 seconds, even, like, the first 2 seconds of somebody's speech, especially, like, in high school when people are maybe, you know, a little bit less confident, but you know within the first couple of seconds whether this is going to be, like, a compelling speech or it's going to be kind of awkward, right? And I don't mean this to, you know, because it's going to describe some people that are watching, and I don't mean it rudely. You know, everybody's got things they're good at, and they've got things that they aren't good at yet, like maybe they don't come naturally, but you know, with practice you can get there, or you could just be like, thank God I graduated, now I never have to do that again, you know? But either one is valuable in its own way, I suppose. Like, for me, and this is a good practice, I think, if you're going to make fun of people who are bad at something that you're good at make fun of yourself first for something that you're bad at. I am, like, horrible at visual art. You know, with drawing, sketching, painting, even like arts and crafts, like that's the worst for me. Like drawing is whatever. I can accept being bad. But like arts and crafts in elementary school and even like through to middle school is bad for me because I'm not only bad at visual art, I'm terrible at like the engineering aspect of it as well. So it was like a combining like a lack of visual artistic vision. And I say visual because I do think I'm a creative person, you know? I think that hold on. We don't want to take this. Like I think when it comes to like my words, I can't think of the word I'm looking for here. I was gonna say I embody some degree of creativity. It was a bad time for the words to escape me, but I think a lot of people would agree. You know, I try to create like a verbal tapestry when I'm talking. I'm not just trying to be like, you know, a robot or whatever, like a technical manual. Except in situations where that's warranted. Anyway, so I'm really bad at arts and crafts, and in 9th grade in Ontario, you had the opportunity. It was like really a fork in the road, like Robert Frost suggested. You have the choice to either, you could do both, I guess, but you didn't have to. You could do either 9th grade music, you know, like bands, or you could do visual art. And I was so happy when I graduated from 8th grade. I was like, I never have to do art again. And you know what? That's the way that's gone down. I have not had to do any art since, and honestly, it's nice. It's a lot of fun. And now, like, if I gotta draw something on the show, who cares, you know? The fact that I'm bad at art is actually just funny rather than like, oh no, we do this like every Wednesday for 2 hours, right? It's an interesting conundrum here. Because I think the Emperor card is probably better than the Sun when we have no HP, but anyway, regardless. The feeling I'm trying to conjure, to get back to like the original, the thesis here, if you will, is, were you the kind of person who, like, when somebody was giving a speech, maybe in English class, and it obviously was not going well, like they didn't sound like themselves, their voice was a little shaky, like it sounded like they were on the verge of tears, and they're or even, I don't know if this is worse, but like they're just clearly putting their head down and getting through the moment, like they're just staring at their cue cards, or God forbid they printed the whole speech on a couple of pieces of computer paper. Oh my god. And then they go like, you know, they're just mainlining it, you know. The Empire State Building was built in 1910 to 1917. It's emblematic of the Art Deco kind of architectural style that existed at the time. And you're like... So were you the kind of person that just like put your head down on your desk? Or were you the kind of person that took it upon yourself to be like their support system? Because I'm... Like, I was struck by how much this... Like, the feeling still existed within me, even though I haven't seen it in forever, or haven't experienced it in forever. I was always kind of like the support network. So, like, if somebody was giving a speech and it was obviously, like, going badly, I didn't opt out. I would, like, be the person that would, like, look them in the eyes while they were talking. And whenever they said something, like, I would make sure, like, I nodded or went, like... you know, like, oh, how interesting. The Empire State Building is composed of an iron and copper alloy. Wow, I didn't know, you know, like, I don't actually care, but I'm like, I don't want this person to suffer an emotional breakdown in the classroom. And the feeling of awkwardness you get, because, like, what oftentimes happens is, like, they recognize that you're the only person in the audience paying attention to them. So then they just basically start giving the speech to you and you alone. I just hit Q. Talk about panic, man. Oh man, it's a visceral feeling. Let's put it that way. But it's, like I said, it's been forever since I experienced it, but still, like, deep within me, the feeling and the memory of the feeling resides. I think that's partly, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm not saying, like, this was training for watching cringe content and finding it humorous instead of just, like, I can't watch Scott's Tots. Ooh, Alf, ooh, my cringies. But, like, you know, I kind of, like, I embrace leaning into the awkwardness, you know? Not as, like, a masochistic thing, but almost as, like, a, you know, trying to be, like, a little supportive. Like, I always remember, I worked at an office with, like, a... It's a super nice guy, for the record, like the nicest guy in the world, and extremely intelligent, very much overqualified for the position that he was in this office. And I'll always remember, like, he went to Guyana for a trip once, and this is in, like, you gotta acknowledge, okay, so this is, like, the turn of the decade. It was, like, it was 2009 or 2010, I can't remember, because I worked there for 2 summers. But he went to Guyana, and it was kind of like at the iPhone had only been out for like a couple of years, so people were still using like digital cameras, and then some people were even like using digital cameras and still getting their photos developed, like at the drugstore and stuff, or at the grocery store. Is crazy to think about, but that this was only 10 years ago. But anyways, we took a bunch of digital photos about being in Guyana, and I remember he casually, like, brought it up at a meeting or something like that. He was like, oh, yeah, you know, like, I got back from Guyana, and I took a bunch of photos, and then our boss was like, oh, so, like, at lunch today, we're having a, like, it wasn't explicitly stated as a mandatory meeting, but it was like, we're gonna have a meeting in the conference room, and you can show us all the photos. And he was like, yeah, sure, okay. And then, like, that whole lunchtime, like, I don't know, maybe he wasn't actually, like, put out by him. He didn't seem like he was stoked. Like, it didn't seem like he was one of those guys who was like, let me show you these photos from my trip, right? Instead, he was just like, you know, I don't want to inconvenience anybody. And they're like, no, you're gonna. And I just remember, like, 40 minutes of this guy, like, you know, going through his photos on the HDMI connected laptop that he brought in, and he's like, yeah, here's me, like, eating some fried plantains, and yeah, like, this is the beach and stuff like that. And you're like, man, those are the moments I live for. I think, and I don't know, I'm trying not to get too, like, heady about it, because I feel like a lot of people are not understanding the point here, which is fair because I'm making it badly, but I think it's, like, a lot of the spirit of my content. I feel like I'm thrilled when somebody is off in no man's land, even if it's me. Like, when somebody makes a ridiculous claim, and everybody says, you know, what the heck are you talking about? That's, like, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And then they have to try to justify it. Like, they're like one man on an island against society. That's, like, my favorite vibe. I don't know how that relates to this guy's trip to Guyana, but I don't even know if that's how it's pronounced. Guyana? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway. Yeah, so it's been good. I have to point out, by the way, and I'm not trying to... Oh, okay. I'm not trying to just be Mr. Negative nonstop, but this is yet another actually bad, okay. Is yet another actually bad Isaac run. 7 rate of fire, 4.6 damage. We're probably gonna be fine. I just want you to not be in the game anymore. Just want you to not be in the game anymore. This is the thing. We should live here. We gotta get in there though. Like, I think we gotta stake our life on this. Like, this is crazy, man. Compare this to, like, Skolex. I just want to live, thank you. Like, I'm not even mad, I'm just like... And yeah, you know, if we'd kept Box of Friends, like, it would have been better. But, like, by how much, you know what I mean? Like, this is... It's crazy, man. What are you doing? What is this boss doing? Anyway, moving on. I don't know why Isaac is so... It's like, It's like an improv comedian with an aim of getting casted on SNL, you know? They're begging to be canceled. Just give me some items that do things. Surely they exist in the game. Just give me some items that do things. Hey, rate of fire would be nice. You know, damage. How about that? Small rock, you know, it could exist any multitude. I don't know. I'm not even saying words anymore, but like, if I were, you'd know what I'm saying. Sorry, it's still early-ish in the morning here. Luck stat is amazing. I'm happy with the luck stat, don't get me wrong. Certainly, I do feel like this is one of those... Oh my... It's one of those runs where my future probably passes through blowing up every single door on the cathedral. Tinted rocks, baby. Gotta love them. There's another tinted rock. Come on. You can't burn me on 2 tinted rocks. There we go. A single spirit heart. Just what I've always wanted. Okay, and then we got, like, it's mom's, it's mom's heart. I don't know why I was gonna say mom's foot, but it's mom's heart. You know you got a bunch coming down here. Just chill out. I'm trying to do rooms just because, like, to get a card would matter a lot. Now, admittedly, like, we shouldn't have gotten rid of the Emperor card. I actually don't know, like, if you were to audit how much HP we've actually lost, I think it's pretty low on this floor and the last floor. So, I think from a, like, a practical standpoint, we actually haven't screwed ourselves too much. I could be wrong, though. I also, I don't really want to go through the big room, though. Yeah, I think we'll just fight here. I'm willing to admit, by the way, like, after 3 runs of, like, badness, Everdeen, you do sort of start to look at, you know, the problems within yourself. Like, what am I doing that's leading me to this sorry fate? And then I think to myself, come on, you're a king. Don't let the game get you down. It's just a bunch of 1s and 0s. Just gotta stay positive. Always nice, actually. Again, it's all... Oh, come on! It's always a little nice when the game gives you the opportunity to prove that you still got the chops. Like here, for example, where you'd expect to get a deal with the devil, but didn't. So much like the last run, I think I would probably, I would bet on a loss here, if I had to bet. But much like the last run, anything can happen. Really, like I think if my personal prediction is if we make it through... Oh my. If we make it through the cathedral, I think we will win the run overall. I think the cathedral's gonna suck pretty bad. And if we can just make it through this, and this is like a good... It's good to have goals like that. That way I can, like, structure how I want to, like, do things. Like, if I was just like, the goal is just to survive... You know, you might get a little lazy about some things. You know, where do I devote my efforts? Well, here we're going to devote our efforts. That's very nice. To things that can help us survive this floor. You know, we're gonna take the time to shoot fires and maybe to blow up blue fires and to evaluate every room we come across and decide if maybe, like, this one's not actually worth doing. And surely that would have found the secret room if it were there. Like, this room could actually make a huge impact. Especially if there's a card. And speaking of which, that also, like, if we're gonna maximize our chances of survival, we should not use bombs against enemies that we know we can beat without getting hit. You know, like, I'm not gonna get hit by Chubb, and I know you're like, that's inviting comedic timing into your life. No, like, I've been hit by Chubb in the past, as long as, like, literally on the mom's hard fight, but as long as we pay attention, if it's just Chubb, we're gonna be fine. Now, 3 Larry Jr.'s, on the other hand, believe it or not, I actually think has a reasonable chance to hit me, so I don't mind spending a bomb there. 2 Monstros should be totally fine. You know, things can happen, but I would rather skip a room in the future than spend a bomb to take out like 20% of the HP of these guys. That's my take on it. So anyway, I think by really codifying what we want, and like what our goal is and what we need to do in order to get there, we can maximize our chances of getting through this run. No guarantees though, because again, statistically, this actually is pretty bad. Like, this is not a good run. And I know I've said that 3 times in a row. I might sound like a broken record. Trust me, I would love it if the record were fixed. I would love to have some items of actual import, but we don't. Just taking my time there, seeing if, you know, this could be a secret room, right? Okay, it's not a secret room. I will acknowledge Lilith, you know, not my strongest character to begin with. Okay, very helpful potentially. So we're kind of, we started this run behind the 8 ball, I would say. Now, again, on this fight, I don't feel like we're in too much danger, even though we got hit once. I don't feel like we're in too much danger as long as we don't fire willy-nilly, you know? I think as long as we kill the greeds first, then we go to town on the fistula, like everything's gonna be okay. This is probably the way you should play the game to begin with. Is this... Is this how Sinvicta plays? He doesn't just hold down the arrow keys, he actually, like, chooses his targets or something? That's... I think I know the answer is no there, but still. Alright, so that was obviously not worth it, but that's okay. Alrighty. Definitely think it's worth using a few bombs here, because we can't even use bombs to get through the chests, so... really, if we want to use some game theory here, you probably want to drop bombs mostly during the Angel Fetus stage, but... we got enough bombs to kind of, you know, average in here. Some here, some there. Okay, you got me. Congrats. You hit me. Does it make you you feel like a big boss when you hit a streamer with glasses? Embarrassing. I'm also hoping, because, you know, we do have Cambion Conception. We gotta be close to our next Cambion Conception payout. It's not like we've taken... Oh my god, how did we not get hit? Thank you, Halo of Flies. It's not like we have not taken a lot of damage on this run. We obviously got, like, Leech, which is not very good. By the way, I do want to acknowledge... I mean, it's not bad, but it's not very good when you're on just Spirit Hearts. I don't want to be rude to Leech, but I do want to acknowledge, if I'd known that we would never sniff at another statistical upgrade for the rest of the game, I probably wouldn't have just sacked 1 HP for Guppy's collar, but that, I think we picked that up on, like, you know, the Caves 2 or something like that. It's still so early on in a run. And we've moved the needle like 0 since then. Alright, so we're gonna have 1 real HP for the next floor. We also have such a high luck stat. You would expect to get some free chests. Okay, 8-inch nails is great. Apple is very great. Holy Light is great. Daddy Longlegs is great. And all I can say right now is somebody up there likes me, because we have gone from a run that sucks to a run that, I mean, our HP is very scary, but a run that may actually be a little above average. And I know that seems like I'm underselling it, but like, you gotta understand how far behind we started in order to understand that we might still be, like, slightly far behind. But it was like, we went 4 for 4 on, like, items that are at least like an 8 out of 10 or better. So I'm extremely pleased with that. If we were likely to lose before, I would say now we're probably likely to win. But to some extent, I wouldn't say it depends, but just even items would be nice, of course. I mean, we've got the luck stat to assume that we should get some. Hopefully more useful than that in the future. But really, like, if we could just get, like, 2 spirit hearts at some point, everything would feel a lot smoother. A lot less, you know, touchy. Okay, should not play chicken when you've got such little HP. And don't look now, but we are in increasing risk of ending this run without being mad, which is it's not necessarily the most common outcome. Now, I will say this would be a great time for us to have not pressed the Q button accidentally against Krampus, who, if we're being honest, we probably should have just fought to begin with. Now, how to jump I don't actually think is that necessary when we know how to fly, but I do also acknowledge that I'm the last person on planet Earth who is like a holdout with this item, and who is like, never taking damage, that sounds bad. Like, even I tapped it there just to see if it might protect us from getting hit by some of those gate plays, but I don't know if it works that way, but I'm doing my part. Come on, come on. He's so close. Come on, come on. I want you to hit me. Okay, Lil Brim, also very good. Certainly very little negative to say there. Well, one negative. He is like the 9th orbital in our list. Kind of hard to aim, but, you know, even just for some width of coverage, you know? It might not always land where we want it to land, but it's the thought that counts or something. See, like there, as long as you know it's coming, it's okay. Alright, we may well begin our new adventure in streaking in randoms here. Does this work? Oh, it works. It's real, and it's fabulous. Anyway, it's one of those things where, like, you know, I thought we did a really good job of carrying banter in this Isaac episode, but then it goes, like, on for 44 minutes, and you just go, you know, I think I'm just out. Not in a negative way, I think just like I'm just out, man. Like, I got nothing else to talk about until the next episode when we can start over from zero again, but, we got insanely lucky. Like, this is one of the best assortment of items you could ever ask for on the chest. I don't say that it's one of the best we've ever had, because I'm sure, you know, in so many episodes, we've probably, you know, we've had some very statistically unlikely bounties, both, you know, in the positives and in the negatives, I suppose, but got a little lucky, but there you go. Let's not push it. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps it a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!